We are diving deep into something remarkable today, growing on birch trees.
Something that looks, well, quite unusual from the outside.
Almost like burnt charcoal, really black and crusty.
But inside, it holds this surprising, bright orange-red core.
This is Chaga, Inonotus obliquus, a fungus that thrives in intense cold.
You find it in northern regions, Siberia, Russia, Scandinavia, Canada, always on birch trees.
And our mission in this deep dive into the source material is to trace Chaga's journey, from its ancient, almost mythical status to what modern science is starting to uncover.
Its story really does go back centuries, especially in places like Siberia,
where it wasn't just used, but revered.
Absolutely. Ancient communities there, the county people, for instance, held it in high regard. They gave it powerful names.
Just us.
Names like Mushroom of Immortality, also Gift of the Birch Spirit, and King of Medicinal Mushrooms.
Mushroom of Immortality. That's quite a statement for a fungus. Why did they see it that way? What were they using it for?
They viewed it as a shield, protection against disease, against the harsh environment they lived in.
So practical uses then?
Very practical. The Khanty sought it for overall vitality, for longevity. Siberian hunters brewed Chaga tea for strength, for endurance on long treks.
What about specific ailments?
Traditional healers turned to it for many things. Gastrointestinal problems were common uses, ulcers, colitis, gastritis. Also conditions we might recognize as tuberculosis, even diabetes.
And not just internally.
No, they used it topically too. For skin conditions, helping heal burns, fighting infections. There's mention of ancient Slavs using chaga poultices on tumors.
So from their viewpoint, they didn't need labs, they just knew. Through experience.
Through generations of observation and use, they developed an intuitive grasp of its power for healing and resilience. That wisdom was passed down.
An incredible depth of knowledge built over time, yet often dismissed, wasn't it?
It was frequently brushed aside as folklore by those outside these traditions. They didn't see the substance behind the stories.
Which brings us to the present day. Science is now taking a closer look.
Indeed. And this is where it gets fascinating. Modern research is starting to investigate if these ancient beliefs have a basis in fact.
What are the findings suggesting, keeping in mind the limits of current research?
We should be clear. Most studies are currently lab-based in vitro or use animal models. Human clinical trials are still quite limited, but the results emerging are very promising.
What is inside chaga that could explain these effects the ancients observed?
Chaga have a rich concentration of beneficial compounds. Key ones include beta-glucans, complex sugars known to interact with our immune system.
I've heard of those.
Then there are triterpenoids, things like betulinic acid, which chaga actually absorbs from the birch tree itself. That's quite unique.
So the tree itself contributes active compounds.
It does. We also find saponins, melanins, the pigments, giving it that dark color, similar to what protects our skin from UV light, and a significant amount of antioxidants.
Antioxidants get mentioned a lot with chaga. How powerful is it in that regard?
The data suggests it's extremely potent. Its ORAC-C score, which measures oxygen radical absorbance capacity, is reported to be around 45 times higher than in camberries.
45 times. That's substantial.
It means it's very effective at neutralizing free radicals, those unstable molecules that can damage cells and DNA. This protective action ties back to those ancient ideas about longevity, potentially slowing aspects of aging.
And what about the other traditional uses? Stomach problems, general resilience?
That aligns well with its anti-inflammatory properties. Modern studies show chaga can reduce markers of inflammation in the body, like certain cytokines and enzymes.
Which could explain its use for ulcers or gastritis.
Potentially, yes. It could offer relief for conditions involving inflammation, joint pain, those digestive issues you mentioned. The science seems to support the traditional application here.
And the resilience aspect, fighting off illness.
That points towards immune support. Research indicates chaga can boost the activity of important immune cells. Think T lymphocytes, which target specific threats, and natural killer cells, our first line of defense against abnormal cells. It acts as a biological response modifier, helping modulate the immune system.
So if we were to highlight the top benefits gaining validation, it sounds like, immune support, antioxidant power, and anti-inflammatory effects.
Those three certainly stand out based on current research, but there's more being explored.
Such as?
Lab and animal studies suggest potential anti-cancer activity, possibly slowing tumor growth or encouraging damaged cells to self-destruct, a process called apoptosis. One mouse study reported a significant tumor reduction.
Interesting, though, early days for that research.
Very early. Other areas include potential benefits for blood sugar and cholesterol levels, skin protection from UV due to the melanin, cognitive support, gut health, and even some antimicrobial and antiviral actions. Again, mostly from preliminary studies.
Given its appearance, how do people actually consume it? It looks too tough to just eat.
It is far too hard and woody. Extraction is necessary. The traditional method is hot water extraction, basically making tea. This pulls out water-soluble compounds like the beta-glucans.
Like the hunter's tea.
Just so.
Uh-huh.
For supplements like powders or tinctures, you often see dual extraction used. That involves both hot water and alcohol.
Why both?
The alcohol helps extract different compounds, like the triterpenoids, which aren't very soluble in water. It gives a broader spectrum of Chaga's components.
Good to know the methods. Are there any important precautions or risks people should be aware of?
Definitely considerations are needed. The source material stresses consulting a healthcare professional before starting Chaga.
What are the main points?
It contains oxalates. High or long-term use could pose a risk for kidney stones in susceptible individuals. There's potential for interactions with certain medications, blood thinners, drugs for diabetes, immunosuppressants.
So checking with the doctor is crucial if you're on medication.
Absolutely. Also, its safety during pregnancy or breastfeeding hasn't been established. There isn't a standardized dose for humans yet, due to limited clinical trials. And quality matters. Sourcing reputable, ideally wild-harvested chaga is important.
It really is quite remarkable. Thinking back to the ancient peoples, the Khanty, the Siberians, developing this deep understanding intuitively.
Just through observation, through tradition, passing down that knowledge about this powerful fungus.
Their insight, now being slowly illuminated by scientific tools centuries later, is quite something.
It highlights a profound connection to the natural world and its potential, a connection we're still exploring.
Call it another verified legend that goes in the archive.